Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bad Occult Podcast, where we do, or at least talk about, or confuse the host by moving things around. Well, we do, or at least talk about inadvisable things in the name of magical science. I am one confused host, Tyler Cadmian, aka Shadow, and with me is the other confusing host.
Hi, I'm Felix S. Warren, just sort of slowly rearranging objects in the background in a way that distracts Shadow from his job, his very important job.
Trying to do things, and we've got a podcast running, and you're just moving things.
It's kind of like...
But that's sort of the theme of this podcast, the episode, because, you came to me this afternoon and was like, look, we gotta move things.
Yeah, Edward wanted to do an episode. You don't even know who that is.
Well, we talked about it a little bit in the last podcast, about, body occupation and things like that, but unfortunately, Edward does have his own body, and that body is currently occupied.
Just ignore it. So, Edward is in a neighborhood where things are very loud right now, so he can't actually show up for the show, but we have a different guest lined up, just in case of an emergency, as it so happens.
Wow.
Yeah, we completely planned for this, totally.
I was totally not expecting anything related to this, so I don't really know.
This show has been abducted by aliens.
Yes, and Felix is in cahoots.
So, I'm not in cahoots. I more just suggested, hey, we've got a new person on the ship, why don't we invite them onto the podcast? And you had actually suggested a week ago that he'd be a surprise guest, and we decided that it was too early.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I brought up and I wanted to discuss with you on the podcast was we don't really talk a lot about the aliens and space factor.
No.
We've actually been talking way more about spirits, demons,
time
travel,
divination.
Yeah.
We've dove into a bunch of these occult topics, but we're sort of not really dancing around the topic, but we have mentioned that we're literally channeling and talking to aliens on a spaceship or on another planet. So...
yeah, I wanted to talk about kind of the mechanics of that.
Yes.
Because some of the stuff we haven't been talking about straight on purpose.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you asked Rob how he's projecting here. Mm-hmm. And he gave you the actual answer at the time, which is still the same answer he would give, which is that he sits down and reads a book while mentally projecting himself over here.
Right.
Now, Mantis had a similar technique. He reclines in a chair that he uses for this particular thing, as well as other stuff. He does a lot of psychic stuff, so he's got that set up. And it makes it sound like everybody in space is just kind of sitting down and projecting over here with no technological aid whatsoever.
No.
And that's not actually true. So
it's just we happen to talk to two very strong psychics who decide to make sure to hone their skills by talking to us without the age of technology.
Well, another thing that's happening is that everybody who's been calling in, all of our guests have been very polite and not trying to suggest us doing things that we can't do. Mm-hmm. For instance, they know that we're giving advice to an audience of Earthlings with available Earth technology. So they're not going to tell us, if you want to do some projection into somebody else's body, what you need to do is get a nice big immersion tank. Mm-hmm. And or a cryo tank or whatever, and just dunk yourself in there and use all the technology hooked up to that to more easily sync up your psychic projection into the other body. So just go get one that you've got in the other room, right? You bought it off of Amazon, right? And so there's a whole lot of stuff that they have in space, or they use in space, or they do in space that they haven't really been talking about because they've been trying to give us useful advice or give our listeners useful advice.
Right.
And so it's meant that it's kind of obscured or obfuscated a few things that have been going on the ship, or just kind of a few norms of living on the ship.
I mean, we went into it a little bit when we talked to Venom the first time. I think that's the most that we've gone into it, just with like the technicalities of having a projectile weapon in a spacecraft.
Yeah, like Mantis explained it a little bit too.
Yeah, but beyond that, like, there's really been nothing. And so our latest guest is definitely someone who is very willing to talk about this stuff. And yeah. But before we do that, do you want to talk a little bit about, or do we want to talk about it at the end about the episode stuff mix up?
Oh, it's not really a big deal. It was just a misordering on YouTube.
Yeah.
It didn't affect anything else.
Okay, great.
And it was only for like a week, so...
great. Anyone who time traveled back to before this episode was released, we had a little bit of an episode kerfuffle on YouTube, but it's now fixed, so if you missed that window, too bad.
Too bad, too good. Congratulations.
Yay, you didn't have to deal with the accidental
Everything's correct now.
Yes. It was so funny because it was the time travel episodes that, like, time travel fucked up.
So, like, I want to talk a little bit about the implications of kind of the conversation we've been having ongoing with a bunch of actual aliens.
Uh-huh.
We're talking to a bunch of aliens in a spaceship without the knowledge of any planetary government, like, on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's not a whole lot of listeners to this podcast right now.
No.
So I don't think that anybody notable has picked up that we're talking to space aliens. And I don't know if it will ever be of any consequence that they were recorded on this podcast and talked here. But, like, that is an actual thing that is happening. and part of what I aim to talk to our guest about today is a little bit of the implications of that, and ask a bit about, like, what would outer space even think about that?
Right.
And, you know, I want to ask you, since you're not going to be, like, here while he's here, what do you think about, like, some of all of this, really?
So, I honestly take it like ham radio. Except, with ham radio, you have to get a license because you could be listening into, like, FAA and, like bands that they need for different levels of communication. So, but there's no ham radio license for psychic shit.
Yep.
Because, I mean, first off, you have to convince the government that this is real. Like, that you specifically as a private citizen are doing this real. And if you're not laughed out of the office or sent to, you know, a government facility that you're never going to leave again.
They either take you not seriously or very seriously.
Too seriously. So there's no, like, in between. So there's no way for us to register this as an occult / like, intergalactic podcast. So
there's nothing right that we can do.
There's nothing right that we can do.
Like, I'm not saying we're doing something bad or sneaky by doing this. Like,
no.
At this moment, there is really no way So, I'm not even going to say if. Aliens are communicating with us humans here in America on Earth. And we actually have no means of telling our government that aliens are communicating with us.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, we could technically fill out, like, a generic form, but no one's really going to listen about it.
No, they've got too many other things that they're trying to destroy.
And this isn't a UAP. I know. This isn't a UAP. It is not an unidentified
aerial phenomenon.
And so, like, what do we really report? Like, they're only interested in things flying around that we have readings on. There's nothing flying around, and we have no readings on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of frustrating because I think that what we have is actually more interesting and notable than like a little drone.
Yeah, but I'm interested in the fact that you are entertaining the idea of reporting it to a government.
I'm not entertaining that idea as in like thinking about we should do it.
Right.
I'm more like pointing out there's no way for us to tell any authority what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, do you find that interesting? Like, we don't actually have a way to be a good citizen.
Yeah, there's no
here.
like psychic liaison office or anything. Like,
but even alien liaison.
Yeah.
Like, the only UAP reporting office is for very specifically, like, I have photos or radar readouts
Yeah.
of this thing, this object I saw in the air. There's nothing that we can do to tell anyone.
Aliens beamed a message directly into my brain.
We could call our senator. But there's no specialist to go to about this, and I find that intriguing.
Yeah.
That, like, Earth is not prepared for first contact to just be like, you know,
a couple of bozos.
Well, it's just not prepared for first contact to be someone calling.
Yeah.
Someone just like saying, hey, it's prepared for first contact to be like a spaceship. And so, yeah, like we're kind of in an interesting situation. I've thought about, like, what do we do?
Yeah.
I do take this seriously. I think this is happening. This is real.
Right.
But I don't have a way to treat it as real to, like, my planetary government.
Right.
So, yeah. Like...
Well, I mean, if the rumors are true and everyone's assigned, like, an NSA, FBI spy, on TikTok it's your Chinese spy, government's already listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're all listening, but I don't think that
they're all listening, but
I don't think anybody's actually doing anything about anything they hear. Like, it's sort of... I think that the monitoring may be happening, but there's nobody really on the other end of the phone making any decisions about what to do about it.
Interesting.
There's nobody in government who is actually positioned to do anything. If somebody from another planet was phone calling someone over here and telling them things, and we were telling them things, that could be highly, highly dangerous for you know, aliens to find out about Earth.
Well,
there's nothing to stop it. There's just nowhere to report it.
Well, at least we're the Bad Occult podcast for a reason.
It's very... It's very occult.
We're the refuge for those who cannot find an outlet elsewhere.
If you want to talk about something the government won't believe you about, come over here.
Oh my god.
We welcome you with open tendrils.
Ew, no. No. Why that word? You could have used so many other words.
Why is tendrils a bad word? That's like something plants have.
No, I don't like it.
Okay.
I've never liked the word.
Okay. Open crepuscules.
That's even worse.
I don't even know if that's a real thing.
Oh my god.
All right.
So, we've talked around the topic, and we've talked about our opinions on the topic, but...
We've explained ourselves a little bit.
We've teased the fact that we're getting an actual alien on here who's going to talk about actual alien shit, so we need to go get the actual alien. And it's
Could you go get the alien?
And it's my turn to go get the alien.
It's your turn to go get the alien. I did it last time.
So I'm going to go get the alien.
Make sure to take both off. Yeah, so our guest is getting prepped up to come in. So this podcast, I didn't even prepare a list of questions, I figured that we would just, like, go ham on this one. So he's doing his 3 steps and everything.
All right.
Oh, I done...
What am I supposed to poke at? That. There we go.
He's operating OBS like a champ.
I have done it. My beautiful face is on the screen.
There you are!
Yes.
So, I drew you.
You did! Oh, you did a very good job.
Well, thank you.
I like it.
I'm glad. So, I got the list of questions that we ask all of our guests who come on. Some of which I've already, like, kind of popped. But, so what's your name?
Gerald.
What's your gender identity, pronouns and such?
He, his.
Alright.
Masculine.
Where are you calling from?
The damn ship everybody else is on.
Alright. You sound so happy to be there.
I mean...
Well, what is it that you do?
Well, right now, I don't do anything.
Aw.
I've been employed into a life of leisure, guarding someone who isn't present.
That's right. You found out the hard way that Rob is on a planet that we haven't been able to get to yet.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I really mean the crew of the ship.
Yeah, but, like, you talk to them so much that you sort of include yourself on that crew. So, yeah. Long story short, I got caught up in things because I was snooping.
You were looking for Rob.
I was snooping. That's all I'm gonna admit to.
This isn't about finding out what you were up to. Although if we did, that would be great.
I was snooping. I told you. I didn't say that I was snooping on anyone in particular or for anything in particular. I was just snooping.
He was snooping, and now he's on the ship. So, we haven't really talked a lot about ship politics. We talked a little bit. We have talked on the podcast about Venom getting his gun confiscated.
Yeah.
What happened whenever you first got on the ship? Is there anything that you no longer have?
No.
All right.
Because I'm not an amateur.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Where do you want to go?
Where do we want to go?
I heard that you were asking questions, but you're asking very vague, open-ended questions.
I am. I'm kind of getting a feel for, like, where you're coming from. And so, actually, I want to ask, where do you come from?
Where do I come from originally?
Yeah.
The Andromeda Galaxy.
Yeah, so, like, talk to us about Andromeda.
Why?
Because we don't know anything about it. We don't know anything. Nobody tells us anything. We don't get to know.
See, that's the thing. Is that now you've told me that nobody tells you anything. That makes me less inclined to tell you anything because I don't know, like, beyond the cat just beeping a warning, which might just be him wanting to get inside.
It is.
What's allowed, not allowed.
So, yeah, when it comes to information that you can give Earthlings about anything, what can you tell us?
I don't know because normally I'm not in the situation at all.
Normally you're not talking to an Earthling.
Normally no one would be talking to an Earthling.
Right. And why wouldn't anybody be talking to an Earthling?
Because Earth is sort of off limits for a variety of reasons.
Can you talk to us about any of those reasons?
Alright. So, I'm just going to talk directly to the listener, because you already know all this. So basically, if you imagine, there is a red zone and then a yellow zone in the solar system. The red zone is anything inside the asteroid belt. And then the yellow zone is anything outside the asteroid belt to the Oort cloud. That is sort of the de facto limit of your solar system. Okay? So anything inside the asteroid belt is hazardous and or would be breaking intergalactic policy on potential spacefaring species. And just the general, you guys have so many satellites shooting off in all directions that we don't know what's going to get caught when and where. So anything inside the asteroid belt basically needs a ton of approval to be set up, to be managed, to be visited. And pretty much anything closer to the sun than Mars is basically a no-go, because you have to pass Earth. On one way or the other, you end up passing close enough to Earth or Luna, the moon, to actually be caught on some kind of surveillance system. And just the risk of that is too much to try to get to Venus or Mercury. So a lot of exploratory, informational things like that are kept outside of the asteroid belt, but that is still yellow zone in that movement is heavily monitored. You should have an actual reason for traveling, especially in between planet to moon or planet to planet, because if you don't get your trajectory approved, you could potentially show up on some long-range satellites. I know they're shipping I'm trying to remember if they're shipping one to Jupiter again soon. But that's not really my type of thing. I mean, like I said, I was snooping, so I'm a bit more of a covert ops, I guess is the best way to put it. You basically have to be some kind of special ops or covert ops or have some kind of cloaking device or something to be able to enter the solar system. It's just, that's the understanding. That's the type of people that go in and out, are those who have understanding of basic clandestine behavior and activity. Because all sorts of interplanetary crafts have been caught on camera before.
So what happens when they're caught on camera?
It really depends on how they're caught. If it's something military, then it's usually clearanced and suppressed. If it's especially lately, it's been a lot easier to disinfo a lot of amateur work, because AI and just Photoshop and those kind of things in general are so popular that it's very easy to be yeah, that's not anything. So did that answer your question?
That does. That answers a lot of questions, actually.
Okay.
Is there any contact with Earth or Earth governments to coordinate whatsoever?
I mean, there must be. That's just my natural assumption. I'm not aware of any direct contact. It's probably heavily disguised. It might even be I don't want to, oh god, I just gotta have to come out and say it. There are alien plants in your government.
Well, yeah.
They gotta have communication somehow. Because there's various treaties and things that are in place because of a lot of different things. And so obviously, and I mean, it's even come out in not even like, not even, like, the crazy conspiracy theories, but, like, there have been credible conspiracies to hide this kind of information, you know, like just the existence of extraterrestrials in general. And a lot of that is because the governments would have to also admit that we have been zipping around throughout your solar system, and everyone's been, like, gaslighting you for at least, you know, the advent of pictures and modern television. Like, I mean, at this point, it'd be at least 100 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, the rumors of it have been earlier, but I really think the concentrated effort of, like, trying to hide and disinfo and all that stuff has been since pictures that have been able to capture the sky that are in the hands of the general public.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, but they're, like, in... I think they're... I mean, I don't know much about it myself because I don't, like, interface with them. But, like, from my understanding as someone who's, like, interacted with, I guess, a level past the direct Earth liaisons, that they're in positions that people would not expect.
Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to fish too hard for that.
No, I'm just... You know, if anyone goes out there and is like, oh, so-and-so, he's an alien planet. It's like, nope. 99% of the time, you're going to be absolutely wrong.
It's going to be Buttigieg. Department of Transportation.
No. No.
That's where they keep the UAPs in the Department of Transportation.
No.
He's not there anymore anyway.
Right.
So, how much Earth news gets out to the rest of space?
Not much. I mean, between the red zone, the asteroid field, and your gas giants, there's actually a lot of radio waves that just get fucking destroyed. So, there's not as much getting... You guys think that you're so noisy.
Oh.
But the asteroid belt absorbs a lot of it. And the rest of it is sort of, like, manipulated by the gas giants. And the little bit that gets out might just be like someone driving by and happen to catch someone's local AM radio station where you get 2 words and then it's gone.
Ghost box. Sad little ghost box solar system.
It's on Earth, and then it just back to static.
So, does anybody, like, send out any updates on, like, you know, if anything actually happened on Earth, or is it just assumed that nothing's going to happen?
Anything that happens on Earth, like, what do you mean by that?
Like, if there's a large natural disaster or the danger of thermonuclear war.
Natural disasters is not going to be a big deal to the rest of the galaxy because, I mean, that's sort of contained to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, global thermonuclear war would be slightly more of an issue, honestly, because part of the reason why red zone is all the way out to the asteroid field is because, like, there have been talks about shooting nukes into Mars to test things. That was more in the 70s. But, you know, the red zone's basically there because Earth does have thermonuclear warhead capability and the ability to I don't know if they can actually do it, but technically they do have the capability to launch certain nukes. I don't know if it'd go completely out of Earth's orbit, but theoretically, they have the capability of doing that. Obviously, no one has tested any of that. But, you know, enough direct threat from, like, an obviously alien craft, they might try something. So, we avoid, you know, those kind of areas partially because of that. But thermonuclear war on Earth, unless they were shooting off nukes at, like, Luna or Mars or Venus, or it was enough to like throw Earth off of its axis and rotation entirely in a way that it would threaten other planets. I don't think aliens really care.
Oh, damn.
Like, they care more about the like longevity of the solar system as a whole than,
well, that makes sense at scale,
than the squabblings of these little standing monkeys who still can't figure out how to cooperate long enough to like get an actual FTL engine going.
Oh, dang. So, on that, how much of the rest of space is human?
None.
So, humans are only on Earth?
I mean, the Homo sapiens, yes. I mean, there are a lot of different types of species, but the race that I come from actually is bipedal, has bilateral symmetry, much Earth human-like features, I guess, but more I don't know. I don't really know how to describe myself in comparison to you, but like we do look a lot like humans. So, inevitably the question will come, you know, are humans an abandoned colony? I don't know. I don't know the history. I didn't study this shit. This stuff was like millions and millions of years ago, and even if we were descended from a common ancestor, we're so distant, and just like being raised and trained in the artificial gravity makes the body so much different that, like, honestly, without like an exosuit or something, I probably couldn't withstand Earth gravity.
I was actually going to ask about that next. So, like, how much time in your life do you spend in space?
A lot.
Do you ever spend any time on planet?
I mean, occasionally, but it's more for, like, specific, missions, is the best way to put it, than any, like, choice. If I had a choice, I'd stay on a ship. My own little ship. Cruised around.
What do you like about staying on a ship?
You can control the gravity, you can control the, like, the lights. You don't have to depend on a solar, like, some kind of, like, either natural or artificial, like, following of another body's rhythm. I like figuring out my own, like, sleep rhythm and stuff.
That makes sense.
By myself.
The whole cycle on the ship can basically determine your biorhythms.
Yeah, and I like being self-regulating.
So you say, like, self-regulating and you like being on a ship. Is this like a one-person ship, or...?
Well, I mean, it would be like a 4-person ship because I like my space. So, technically, it'd be like... It's not going to be like a little tiny ship where you don't have anything. Like, I like my amenities. If I can get it, I actually get, like, a liquid shower. Because I like that, but, you know... Big thing is big bed.
Big bed.
Big bed.
How often do you get big bed in space?
Oh, most of the time.
No, I mean, like, how often does the average person get big
bed
in space?
It really depends on, like, I hate to say favoritism, but some of it is favoritism. Most of it is just, like, knowing that that's what you want and then, like, asking for it as part of your, like, perks or something. You know, there's people who will wait months and months to go and wait for a ship that actually has a water reservoir so they could take, like, showers or something.
How rare is it to have an actual shower ship?
Fairly rare. Mostly because, like, it involves 2 energy issues. First one is, like, storing the water and keeping it, like, from getting contaminated. And then the other thing is, like, heating it up So that, because most people who want water showers want hot or like warm water. They don't want cold. It's really easy to keep water like freezing.
Yeah.
That's part of the energy requirement, is because you have to keep the water warm enough to like not freeze in the hull, and you have to have a pressurized like area. So, you know, water is it's also a lot of space, and it's something that like if you're not adjusting for it and making sure that you have very, very good seals, water could be like bad, especially if you happen to lose artificial gravity. Then it becomes like a floating blob.
This is true.
That can attack electronics, and surface tension is a bitch. So yeah, there have been cases of people who have not drowned due to water floating around in their ships, but asphyxiated. Because the water would just form, but it
float into their face.
Into their face. They couldn't clear it.
Ugh, that's grim.
Yeah. So it's sometimes you have to like basically take a pay cut, you know, or like even have to pay out of your own pocket for some of these things. There is like a credit system, but it's more for like, I don't know, perks and luxury items, because we do have like, if you see in like Star Trek, like a basic replicator.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's also another thing, is that like depending on the type of replicator, like yes, you could get food, but it's going to be like a, you know, hardtack stick versus like actually being able to create the proteins for ingredients or even whole meals. So. And then that's the other thing, is that like if you're creating ingredients, then you have to have room on your ship for a kitchen, which may involve fire and smoke and all those like things. And yeah, so you can see how if you get more specific with your requests, how like things could be harder or easier for you in space.
Actually, I wanted to ask a bit about the pay credit amenities system, because a little bit of it has been explained to me that like a lot of the reward in space is basically an upgrade in accommodations.
Yeah.
So like could you talk about that?
So their currency is basically the step beyond the barter system, where you have goods or services and you barter with someone directly to access their goods or services. You can still do that, obviously, but with like fuel and things, it's easier to quantify you know, how much something would cost if you have a cost determination. Now, if you are in... Now, it really depends, because my experience is more from the military, like, the galactic, like, core, CORPS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, like... You sign up, you get your basic guarantees. But if you stay on one planet all the time, you don't need to, like, find guarantees with the galactic cores, because that only works on ships, you know, that are connected with the galactic core, or, you know, pilots or operators that agree to accept galactic core credits. So, if you are looking for more of a spacefaring life, then yeah, signing up for like one of their militaries or anything like that could get you into a better position. But, you know, it comes with every risk that signing up for a military does. You might end up being assigned somewhere that you don't want to, doing jobs that you don't want to, and you can't really say no.
Right. So, how do you sign up for the military, and like when do you sign up for the military?
So there are various paths for that. A lot of it is not actually like active duty. A lot of it is actually exploratory. You know, there's not too much going on right now in the intergalactic space as far as wars and stuff. At least in the areas that I were in. So a lot of it is more like exploratory. Like there's, for example, Earth is of particular interest, especially with the attempts to go to Mars. So there may be like research vessels that get permission to, go into the asteroid belt and beam out some signals to see what's going on. But not much like equipped military, like we're gonna come down and rain down hellfire or something.
So, like, what does it take to get a gig that's nearer on Earth?
I don't think it's possible to get one of those gigs.
Just in the vicinity, then.
I don't think it's possible to get close enough to actually, like, eyeball Earth, except with, like, really good binoculars. So nothing within the solar system would be readily available because the level of, like, knowledge, training, and clearance would mean that there's a very small pool to begin with. Relatively speaking.
So how did you end up in the neighborhood?
How did I end up in the neighborhood? Because I was snooping.
That's right, you were snooping.
I was snooping and I got caught.
You got caught.
I got caught.
So, let's see. Oh, psychic abilities.
Yeah.
Really curious about this. So can you talk about any of your psychic abilities?
I'm good at snooping.
Oh gosh. Well, can you describe a bit more of that for the audience, please?
So, I'm very good at making people ignore me.
All right.
And then on top of that, I think you kind of drew it a little bit. It's, that's sort of in its, like, uniform mode, but I have what's basically sort of a chameleon suit, that I can use to blend in with surroundings. It's not true camouflage. Like I said, it's more of a chameleon, but it's worked pretty well in tandem with my you don't like
these aren't the
don't
droids you're looking for.
Don't be suspicious.
That, yes.
Except a bit more subtle than that, but yeah.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that nobody, that body and nobody else who's been in that body has actually played Metal Gear Solid.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Solid Snake's sneaking suit. And you just don't know it.
And then, like, the other thing is that we have, like, tech where we can either talk or, I'm not quite sure how it works, but if you're in a place where you can't talk, it auto switches to, like, telepathy. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you think real hard,
it's like telepathy radio?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got Solid Snake's codec, which is that. So, on the ship, I talked with you a little bit. I was explaining to you, like, an understanding that I had about some galactic and Earth politics, and then I told you that I learned it from watching a cartoon. That's Steven Universe.
Mm-hmm.
I've been noticing that there are a lot of Earth psychics that pick up on things that are going on off of Earth, and then they put it in a cartoon or a video game or something.
Mm-hmm.
Does the rest of space have any idea how much Earth hears?
No.
Did you have any idea how much Earth hears until I started talking with you about this?
No.
What do you think about it?
I can see why the general consensus is just to not say or do anything, because it just opens so many questions on both sides. Like, you know, hey, if the aliens knew about us all this time, why didn't they interfere in XYZ? You know, if the government knew that the aliens had this technology that could help us out, why didn't they agree to XYZ? Because obviously, since there's, like I've already said, that there's liaisons within the governments, there may have been offers of mutual aid, or anything, any sort of thing could have happened, but obviously it's been rejected or withdrawn. We don't know what side decided not to do anything. And I mean, individuals are free to think within their own heads. Ideas aren't copyrightable. They're also very hard to prove where the source is. So, you know, if someone got a story inspired by an alien that's talking to them in their sleep, how are they going to prove it?
Yeah.
Conversely, how's anyone going to disprove it?
That's actually been a big open question in the household since I'm doing one of those now.
Right.
And from what I've gathered, it will probably be of no consequence whatsoever if I put in every single secret that I know about aliens into my webcomic. It would never result in anything. Which is really interesting to me because I also follow, like, you know, espionage in Earth politics, at least, and just leaking the tiniest secret about, like, the nuclear program would result in serious shit.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's this weird sort of loophole. This weird there's no regulation here because no one can come tell me no.
Yeah. I mean, since they basically all but said that psychic ability and psychic stuff is fake, or like tried their best to disprove it, how are they going to come after you?
I know, that's the thing, is that if I was doing something harmful, then how could that be if it's supposed to not be real?
Right.
So, in space. Is there religion?
Ooh. So, I mean, there are religions, but it's not so, like... I know Earth has a lot of, like, issues with, like, religious, like, extremism, religious militarism. I mean, people have their own personal beliefs about what happens before you're born and after you die. Some people have, like, family values that are passed down from generation to generation. Other people do have, like, their own personal belief systems. I mean, I feel like it's just as varied in the greater cosmos as it is on Earth right now, and a lot of people are just using, you know, their beliefs to guide them in a crazy ass place, you know. I mean, we're all kind of specks floating through the cosmos on one level or another. So, yeah, there is religion, but it's not anything, like, super, like, organized or anything. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it.
Yeah, can you just, like, generally avoid religion?
Yeah, you can.
How common is it for somebody to have religion?
I mean, it's I guess it's not really talked about. Not many people actually go out and like try to like proselytize or like anything like that. It's sort of seen more as like a private matter. If you need like a religious accommodation, it's sort of seen as similar to like if you need an accommodation for like a wound or like injury or disability or something like that. It's just okay, cool. You need to wear a colander on your head. All right.
It's important because I worship the flying spaghetti monster.
I've encountered actually one of those in the wild.
An actual worshiper of FSM? How were they?
They were a very interesting being to talk to.
Wait, so have you encountered a worshiper of FSM or an actual FSM?
No, a worshiper.
Okay.
That's why I said the colander on the head.
Yeah. My goodness. Have you encountered any Discordians?
No.
Oh, man. I think that wacko religion has only been on Earth. It's so sad.
No, the flying spaghetti monster, it was sort of like, how a lot of people saw the Jedi stuff in Star Wars and was like, I'm going to make a religion out of this. Someone saw the stuff online. I guess they had an access to Wikipedia or something. And found out about the flying spaghetti monster and decided that that was their god now.
All right. Score 1 for Earth.
So, yeah.
How common is it to have access to the internet, to the Earth internet?
I don't know. It really depends. Like, a lot of it is that you get... It's just like browsing a selection of newspapers, except it's like social media and like conglomerate posts from like different areas of the galaxy, pretty much, or this area of the cosmos. And some people just subscribe to get updates on Earth anime or something.
Yeah, so like, how much content from Earth can they consume / have they consumed?
I don't really know many of the details, but like there are...
It's very important for me to know how popular anime is.
So the thing is the signal itself degrades pretty quickly, but there are certain sites that are being monitored and updated in various places, and they have relays that update more central networks, and then from there you can get access to specific content.
It's like having satellite TV.
You have to, if it rains, then the you're not going to be able to watch all the channels.
Aww. So it's very important that we asked about anime and the availability of it. So how many people in space have seen Star Wars?
I have no idea. I have no
You have none idea. Have any?
Nope. Part of the thing is because I have near Earth clearance, I have the clearance to access and consume the media.
Right.
Or like can sign up for these things. If you don't have near Earth clearance, you don't have clearance to access Earth stuff.
And there's nobody like pirating Earth media somewhere to the rest of the universe?
I mean, there could be, but why?
I come from anime. And I had a friend who was an anime fan sub distributor, and he just had a home that was shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves of VHS tapes. And some of them were the most obscure crap that you could have never heard of. And when it came to why he did this, I don't think he had really a reason. But if somebody sent him 4 blank tapes and 4 different anime titles, he would record those onto those tapes and send it back to them and feel happy about himself.
That is very cute.
So my assumption is that they would do it for that reason.
I don't know.
Sorry. Well, media. Like, what kind of media do you consume?
Oh, the big thing about, like, Earth media is most of it's... I mean, you've barely gotten into 3D. So... we have the ability to plug in programs into our bed, and as we sleep, we have, like, basically dreams that are pre-programmed. So, for example, if you want to be Indiana Jones, you can plug in that program and be Indiana Jones.
Nice. Like, do you purchase different ones, or?
Well, it depends. Like, a lot of the times there is a selection on the ship. People have their own sets. There's some that, like, you can basically, like, they have physical, like, cartridges that you could put in, but, you can also, like, download some if you have a storage unit that you bring with you. And then you could plug that in instead. Like, think about, like, having, like, a hard drive or something that you carry with you with your favorites.
Yeah, so, like, what's media storage like? Because, like, right here on Earth, we've basically got, like, micro SD cards and SD cards carrying around entire, like, TV shows or something. Like, what have you got similar?
Well, a lot of the storage is managed by a ship, and ships have, like, tons and tons and tons of storage. Depending on the courses that are being, like, drawn up and stuff, they may have star maps, you know, that you stop off at a regional, like, station to download new star maps. So basically what you have is your stations, which are usually either on a moon. Hardly ever are they just, like, you know, Deep Space Nine style, like, just like an actual, like, structure. It's usually built on a moon, or some other kind of, like, stable asteroid, something like that. And you'd go there to basically refuel, gather information, find out what the latest, like, do's and don'ts of the area are, and also get, like, the local, like, charts, you know. And if you need to, or you could even, like, especially if you're coming from a more obscure area, you could actually get credits for uploading your star charts from your ship. It saves on storage, and also, like, you know, just makes it better for everybody.
So you get, like, points for contributing.
Yeah.
So, like, what kind of contributions get you points?
It really can vary. Like, anything that is construed to be in the interest of the group that you are associated with, like, for example, the Galaxy Corps, can get you points or credits in their system. But if you move out of that system, your points don't always come with you. Like, say, if you end up going to a planet that's, like, not really integrating much with the core, you might have to start all over again, you know? So it really depends.
So some of that would actually determine where it is that you go and what it is that you do.
Yeah. A lot of
Sense.
agreements on planetary, solar system, galactic, intergalactic levels.
So, like, healthcare, what's that like?
So a lot of that is automated at this point. There are, like, since we have replicators, we also have abilities to have machines that can, fix basic injuries, stitch you up. I mean, honestly, like, using a replicator and a bit of your DNA, it can regrow, like, a skin graft for you or something like that. But major organs, things like that, need something with concentrated power at, like, a space station type place. Medical care is considered a basic right, no matter your species, creed, affiliations, beliefs, anything like that. So it's seen as barbaric to not help someone else in the galaxy that's hurting. So, like, even if you don't have the schematics in your ship to, like, repair someone from another species, at least pick them up and take them to a space station.
Yeah.
And make sure they get the care they need. Like, that is understood.
What are some other basic rights?
Right to food, right to shelter, right to, I don't want to say offspring, but right to contribute to the collective how you can. Mm-hmm. Like, if your best asset for the collective that you've decided to gather with is, like, providing offspring, then that's definitely a thing. But, like, a lot of the times it's more seen in, like, service. Like, if you're going to take passage on a ship, like, it's expected that you at least know one thing or are willing to learn one thing in order to keep that ship running. And, I mean, even a collective can be as small as one ship, with 3 or 4 crewmates.
I am kind of wondering if we're near at time.
I think we are.
My brain hit an amazing, I think we're at time.
Well,
wall.
It looks like it's after 10 p.m., so it's 10:04. I don't know how long these things usually go for you guys.
About this length.
Okay.
So thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast.
You're
what has it
welcome.
been like being here talking about all this?
It's been very interesting. Like, some stuff that I've brought up I wasn't expecting to. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, like you said, I don't think anyone's gonna care.
I just, like, what would they do?
Well, I think I'm gonna leave one last thing for your listeners, and then I'm gonna head out.
Oh boy.
Don't get caught snooping. Gerald out.
Gerald is out. Gerald is gonna go back to the ship where he will continue to serve out his sentence for being caught snooping. And Shadow is coming back in, and it's been a real hoot talking to Gerald today, actually, because well, I don't know if you could kind of pick up some of the vibe there, but he's a little bit more of a spicy meatball than the rest of the crew that we've talked to thus far on the podcast.
Spicy meatball.
Yeah, So, I didn't actually straight on talk to him about it, but we've talked about this.
Oh, boy.
In outer space, they basically think of Earth as North Korea.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they have a red zone and yellow zone.
Okay, so, really freaky to hear him say that. I separately, read something by somebody else that involved the red zone information that they wrote earlier today.
Oh boy.
So
oh my goodness.
Talk about the telepathy. I should have got him to talk more about the psychic stuff, but I think he dodged that on purpose.
He was waiting for you to question him more on stuff. That's the only thing I have in this head from him.
Oh. I kind of hit a wall. I think I hit so much to think about
that you forgot you were supposed to be asking questions.
I drew cards about this ahead of time, and I was told not to prep.
Yeah.
And I think it helped to just listen and then ask questions as he went.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I didn't know yet, or hadn't figured out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. So the status quo is basically like that. No one thinks that Earth is ever going to be in contact with the rest of outer space.
No.
No one on Earth who is actually in charge of this thinks it's going to happen, and no one in outer space who's in charge of this thinks it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So even though technically we are violating so many laws right now, and specifically 5 minutes ago when he was still here, it doesn't matter. There's no one who's assigned to make us stop.
Stop talking. You sound like you're throwing down a gauntlet.
No, I'm trying to explain why, even though it's technically a big deal that we could talk to Gerald and to everybody else on the ship, that probably nothing is ever going to happen because of it.
Yeah.
And I would love for there to be more connection between Earth and outer space. The more that I hear about what happened and what's been going on, the more I want the status quo to change.
Yeah.
But I also know that I'm just lucky to be able to talk to any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that I happened to hear them when they were in the neighborhood, when it was technically impossible.
Right.
I'm glad it's that I can do more than just watch Steven Universe.
So, I don't really have anything else to say. I'm definitely going to be listening back to this one because I have no memory of what he talked about.
How much memory do you have in comparison to, say, when Mantis was over there?
I told you the only thing I had in my head was that...
He was expecting more questions?
He was expecting more questions. That's it.
Interesting.
So... yeah.
Well... Now that we've had Solid Snake as a guest on the podcast.
Oh my god. You keep calling him that. It's always just so interesting to talk about this kind of shit.
It's interesting to talk about it. It's interesting to think about it. I've been putting it into a comic.
Yep.
You've been helping me.
Yep. What is the name of the comic?
Peacock Planet.
On...
.tumblr.com.
Yes.
And
we have just finished Chapter 2. Chapter 3 is starting up. I think you just posted the first page.
I just posted page 1 of Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is another space chapter.
Yes.
One
of your fans has declared the person featured in page 1 a soft boy.
Oh, you. One of my fans, and I don't know who that would be.
Yeah. So, yes. If you like... space stuff, if you like psychic stuff, if you like hypnotism, if you like time travel, if you like weird convoluted storylines that you don't get what's happening in a scene until 3 pages later or 15 chapters later,
if you like Homestuck,
there we go.
You will like
we
this.
are just getting started.
It's been very interesting. Chapter 2 is the time travel chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not written or drawn with any sort of planning ahead of time. It was all written seat of the pants and drawn seat of the pants, and there's a lot of very interesting, looks like it was planned stuff.
Yes.
Going on in that one.
That's been very interesting to watch. So,
yeah.
But yeah, check that out. While you're on Tumblr, you can also check out batoccultadvice.tumblr.com. That's where we post all the rest of our Tumblr shenanigans. You can also send us an ask there, or if you like your information to be a little bit more private and not on the Dumpster Fire Hell site, you can send us an email, batoccultadvice@gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Bad Occult Podcast, where we do, or at least talk about inadvisable things in the name of magical science. As always, I have been Tyler Cadmian, aka Shadow.
I have been Felix S. Warren, aka
Alien Whisperer?
That Earthling who gets the alien to talk about his secret private military contractor job.
Yes, congratulations on that.
You're
welcome. I hope you enjoyed listening, and we'll see you for the next episode. Bye.
Bye.